All right, today we're going to look at the crypto markets through a lens you've probably never even considered. We're stepping completely out of finance and into the world of physics to understand a fundamental force of the universe that, believe it or not, is probably messing with your portfolio right now.
I mean, we've all been there, right? It's the question that keeps traders up at night. You find that perfect strategy, that edge that just works like absolute magic, and then one day, poof, it's gone. The profits dry up, losses start creeping in, and you're left just scratching your head wondering, what on earth just happened?
Well, what if I told you the answer isn't buried in some complex financial model? What if the answer lies in a universal law of the cosmos, the very same law that explains why your bedroom always seems to get messy on its own? That's right, we're talking about entropy.
So let's dive in and see how this law of physics can give us a powerful new way to understand all that chaos in the markets. Okay, so what exactly is entropy? Don't sweat it. I promise this is going to be the simplest, most painless physics lesson you have ever had.
The easiest way to wrap your head around it is just to think order versus chaos. Low entropy is order. It's a clean room, it's a nice predictable trend, it's your strategy firing on all cylinders. High entropy is the exact opposite. It's that messy room, it's the choppy random market noise, and yeah, it's the exact moment your amazing strategy just falls apart. Now, for the official definition, entropy is simply a measure of disorder or randomness, and the second law of thermodynamics is one of the most fundamental rules in the entire universe. It basically says that in any isolated system, this disorder, this chaos, can only increase over time. It never, ever goes down on its own. And that is the absolute key takeaway. The natural, default state of everything is to fall apart. Think about it like a perfectly formed crystal. If you just leave it alone, eventually it's going to crumble into dust. It takes a ton of energy to build that orderly structure, and it takes energy to keep it that way. Without that constant input of energy, chaos wins every single time. So how in the world does the law of physics apply to crypto? This is where it gets fascinating because this isn't just some cute analogy. It is a perfect description of how a trading edge decays. So your winning strategy, your edge, is like this beautiful little island of order, a low entropy state that you've discovered. But as soon as you and other traders start to exploit it, you're putting information and action into the market. The market adapts, the pattern gets arbitraged away, randomness goes way up, and your perfect edge just dissolves back into the chaotic noise of the wider market. It's reached maximum entropy. And in the crypto world, this whole process is on steroids. It's on hyperspeed. Because the markets never sleep, they are literally 24/7 entropy-generating engines. Edges and patterns pop up and then decay far, far faster than in traditional markets that at least give you a break with an opening and closing bell. You know, sometimes the market gets into a state that physicists would call heat death. In trading, we just call it the sideways grind. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The price action is just flat, volatility is dead, liquidity dries up, nothing is happening. That's because there's no new energy. No new capital entering the system to create some order and kick off a trend. The whole system is just stagnant. So what breaks that stalemate? A massive injection of new energy, a huge influx of capital, maybe from a whale making a giant move, or a major news event that just shocks the system back to life. In the markets ecosystem, you have to remember, capital is energy. That's what it takes to decrease entropy and force a new, orderly trend to emerge from the chaos. But there's another really critical part of this whole equation, the human element. You see, our brains are hardwired to see patterns, and that's often where we get ourselves into a lot of trouble. And it's a totally fair question. If the market is constantly moving towards more and more randomness, why do our charts seem to be just filled with things like head and shoulders patterns, flags, and pennants? Well, the answer is a psychological tendency called apophenia. It just means our brains are pattern-matching machines. It's a survival trait. But in the markets, it causes us to see these meaningful signals and clear patterns in what is very often just completely random noise. Think of it this way. Most of the small ups and downs you see on a chart are just thermal noise. They are meaningless, random fluctuations. But to the trader who is desperate for an edge, desperate for a sign of order, those random wiggles can look like a crystal clear signal to buy or sell. So if the market is always moving towards chaos, how are we supposed to deal with it?
The key isn't to try and predict the chaos, but to build a system that can actually withstand it. Look, you can't stop the tide from coming in, and you can't stop entropy. The goal is to stop fighting this unwinnable battle against a fundamental law of the universe. Instead, we need to focus on managing its effects within our own portfolios. And thermodynamics actually gives us two clear strategies. The first is rebalancing. That's our way of actively adding energy back into our portfolio to restore order. The second is simplicity. The more complex and convoluted your trading system is, the more ways it can break. Simple systems are just way more robust. Let's just look at rebalancing for a second. When you let your portfolio just run wild, your winners get way oversized and your whole allocation drifts into this disorganized, over-concentrated mess. That's entropy at work. So by systematically selling some winners and buying more losers, you're actively fighting that drift. You're injecting effort, energy, to pull it back from chaos and restore its original intended order. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Knowing that the market's natural state is a slow march toward chaos, where are you wasting your precious energy trying to control something that is fundamentally uncontrollable? And how can you redirect that energy into building a simpler, more robust system that's designed to manage chaos, not defeat it?